This is episode number 9 of Facebook Live Friday on Manic Trout. I am Sierra Bailey. Manic Trout is my jewelry company. I design, make, and run the company. And on Fridays, I go live on Facebook and share fun stories, try on jewelry, talk to you from the studio, so you can get a little glimpse of what I'm like and what the company's like. Today, I am going to be talking about bracelet stacks. I love bracelet stacks. In fact, my love of bracelet stacks is probably what got me into designing jewelry to begin with. I would also like to say that today I am trying once again to do the horizontal video format. The last time it failed miserably. I think I figured out how to do it. The secret apparently is that you turn your video and then you start going live if you try to turn afterwards. So if I'm upside down, somebody please let me know. Or sideways. I don't want to be doing that. But I'm trying to get it that way because it works better on everybody's viewing. So as I said, we're going to talk about some bracelet stacks today. What is a bracelet stack? Well, my friends, this is a bracelet stack. I have kind of an obscene bracelet stack on at the moment. You really could have a bracelet stack in whatever way you'd like to have. I will, okay, so let's go back in time. We're gonna go, take a little trip down memory lane for me here, and I'll give you a little feedback also too, or a little story that explains kind of why my love of jewelry began. So when I was a little kid, I would go visit my grandmother, and for my birthday / Christmas, holidays every year, she would say, okay, we get to do 3 things together. We're gonna go to the bookstore, we're gonna go to the art store, and we're gonna go to the antique store. And you can pick out one thing from each of these places. Oddly, I still basically live my life that way. So, well, or not oddly, she put that in me at a young age. So when we would go to the antique store, I think when I was about 8 years old, I always was requesting antique silver bracelets. Sometimes they were linked together. Sometimes they were like cuff bracelets. I actually had a bunch of those. Sometimes they were the round ones that you'd put the pin through to hold them. They were all different shapes, always silver, and I started wearing them all clustered together. Then my mom ended up giving me one that had been hers. My grandmother realized what I was doing. She gave me a few she had that aunts of hers brought back from a trip to Mexico type thing. And pretty soon I had, in middle school, a stack of these bracelets on. Maybe before that, I even was doing the friendship bracelet stack. I probably started with that. I was very into friendship bracelets. So I, at a really young age, enjoyed living in a stack of bracelets. I did not sleep in them. I know some people sleep in their bracelet stacks or their jewelry. I'm not one of those people. So then as time kind of went on, I still wore those. I'd mix in other things. I grew up in kind of the horse world, so I had the leather with the pony name on things. So I throw that in there. And then I got into this bead looming phase, so I throw that in there. So I had this evolving story kind of on my wrist. And it was my collection of favorite things, and I would wear them, and that was my favorite part about jewelry. So I got a little bit older. And when I was in college, I've talked about before in one of these videos how I got started. In high school and college, I would make my own jewelry as a hobby. In college, I went to school for architecture and then 3D animation. So it was a wonderful way to be making things and kind of socializing with people as a break from the really technical stuff I was doing for school. So I ended up making, it was when the Swarovski phase was getting really big. So I had all of these Swarovski crystals that I made into elasticized bracelets, and then I mixed the silver in, and I was in a store one day, and somebody that worked in the store said, those are awesome, would you make those for us? And I already was no, the materials are too much, I won't, it will just be a waste of my time, I'm not doing that. But that, I think, was what started putting it in my head that, I am making stuff that people actually enjoy making, so that was cool. But after college, I was still wearing that bracelet stack, and I was still making things to go with it. So I would say that the bracelet stack was really my first love of statement jewelry. Oddly, Manic Trout has become focused pretty much on statement necklaces, but I return to the bracelet stack once in a while. At one point in college, I wore, I would go through different phases. Remember when Madonna in the Material Girl phase had all of the rubber, the black jelly bracelets, and then they came back in the late 90s? I'm dating myself, maybe you don't remember that. But there were the guitar string bracelets that screwed together. I wore a stack of those for a while. I think that's what I mixed in with the colors in college. But yeah, I've always been a big fan of collecting and then putting the collection on your bracelet. So That is what a bracelet stack is, and that is, I think, how a lot of people get into it. They just start putting everything that they like together. One of my sisters has, I don't know if she still wears it all, she had an impressive stack for a while. I mean, it was like probably like this big on her, from like big bangles. People gave them to her as gifts. She would collect them in her travels, things like that. It's kind of like the charm bracelet concept on steroids, you know, that kind of thing. And she slept in them. She lived in these bracelets, always on. I am very active with my hands, so I kind of go bracelet stack a little less than I used to. But I wanted to give you a little tutorial on how to do those today if you are into the bracelet stack. So keep in mind that when you are putting together a bracelet stack, that they are, you know, a lot of bracelets on at once. I'm currently wearing 7 bracelets, so you could, but you may not run out and buy all of these things at once. This really is a collection that evolves over time. So there are many ways you can do it. You can put on all of your favorite treasures at the same time, and it can be as crazy and eclectic and colorful as you wish it to be. Or you can kind of go with a theme. For example, I've talked about my silver bracelet theme that I had collected, so that kind of had, and then I'd add in a little bit of color. I'm at the moment wearing a collection of, I'm wearing a lot of bracelets, of let's say aquas, greens, teals, and blues. I went to match the dress that I'm wearing. So you could go with like a color theme. Things that you really want to keep in mind. 1, bracelet stacks are loud. So if you work in an office, people are going to be really mad at you. So perhaps you don't want to wear that if you are in an environment where you should not be making lots of noise. Remember in Seinfeld with the Seidler when they gave him the Tic Tacs so he made noise? You're going to sound like you have Tic Tacs in your pocket if they are, you know, with lots of beads and things like that. So remember that. If you are buying bracelets normally that are in a lot of different styles, like some cuffs, some chain, some big beaded, some like tennis style, some like thin chain, you can absolutely mix them. I'm going to show you this a little bit closer because of my new orientation. I can't, like, I have to kind of stand back a little bit. So like I have, like, this one is a multi-chain with gemstones, but that it is actually spaced a little further apart. I'm wearing 2 of the Everything I Need bracelets, which are thin chain with just 1 gemstone. This is another multi with glass, and it is 3 chain again. This is another of the thin chain. This is a pretty big gemstone one. It kind of, for some reason, made me think of like a watch face or something, so I like that thrown in there. I used to always have a watch involved on something. Sometimes I'd have like watch on one hand. I was a kid of the 80s. I mean, I wore like multiple swatches, I'll admit that. So sometimes I'd have like swatch stack and then like a bracelet stack. It's no shock that I went into jewelry. This is single strand of a little bit of larger bead, and this one is snugger and another triple strand bracelet. So my theme that I have done on this is color. I have all different styles of bracelets. I do not have cuffs on. I like to mix a cuff in because often, like, if you have a cuff in there that is snug, it will kind of slide under and it will create almost like a background. So think about when, like, you have a painting that has, like, let's say a blue background and then a lot of stuff in front of it, that cuff bracelet will kind of create that kind of thing. That's what I wanted with the thin gold. The metal kind of slides behind everything and creates the gold in the back. So kind of pick a theme if you don't want to look crazy. You could also do that. Let's say you have, like, for example, this bracelet, I have done a stack where I put this on, like, 2 of the green and then 1 of the clear. And that's a small stack, still looks very fun, but it's kind of a way to tone it down a little bit. You can absolutely do it so you are wearing like all multi-strand of the same style. Like that also looks really good. You could, like, for example, I have worn like multiple of this one at the same time, and they all kind of intermingle. It's like when you layer chain necklaces, but on your wrist. So there are so many ways that you can really do it, but for it to look the least chaotic, have one theme. You can mix metals, but if you start to mix metals, colors, and styles, it looks a little out there. Another way to do it is also these all hang about except for this one, which is snugger, but they all hang about the exact same length. Like this, see how I can put like 1 finger underneath them all? That's something really to keep in mind because you want them to wear kind of similarly the same, like so they actually stack. If they were, and that's actually why I wanted the smaller one at the end, so they can't go up my wrist a little bit. So, you know, when you actually want to like stack them all up and make that stack, you have to keep size in you know, the back of your mind too. But they are especially great in the summer. Here in Texas, it gets really hot, and it starts to, you don't want things, I feel suffocated if I have a big necklace on. So if I do like a bracelet stack and then a pair of fun earrings, which actually these match one of the bracelets, it's kind of a nice way to put that all together and give you a fun look without, mind you, this is warm, but it's a little different than being around here, you know, when you get all hot, that kind of thing. But I'm a big fan of the bracelet stack. I kind of think that even if you, in your head, are thinking, I don't have this stuff to make this, I bet that if you went to your jewelry collection, if you're following along on here, you probably enjoy jewelry a little bit. I bet if you went and looked at what you have a few bracelets that you can put together and wear a little stack and have that going. Do any of you still wear watches? I don't really wear a watch anymore, but sometimes having the watch in there can fill it out a little bit too. But it's such a fun way to wear your jewelry, and I hope my talking about my own bracelet stacks has been a little entertaining for you. Just wanted to pop in here this fine Friday and share that with you. I hope you're all having a great week. It is the weekend, and that's always lovely. Make sure that you are following Manic Trout on the Facebook page, and of course, everything is available at manictrout.com. I'm also over on Instagram at, obviously, Manic Trout. And if you are not watching live right now, and you leave comments below, I would love to be able to start a conversation with you. So please, say hi, introduce yourself if we have not met before. I love to meet you, Trouties. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you next Friday on the Manic Trout Facebook page.